The Book of the Damned, by Charles Hoyfort, Chapter 13d. We now have a commonplace datum that is familiar in two respects. Little, symmetric objects of metal that fell at Sterlitymok, Orenburg, Russia, September 1824. Philosophical Magazine, Series 4, Volume 8, page 463. A second fall of these objects, at Orenburg, Russia, January 25, 1825. Quarterly Journal of the Royal Institute, 1828, Volume 1, page 447. I now think of the disk of Torbs, but when first I came upon these data I was impressed only with recurrence, because the objects of Orenburg were described as crystals of pyrites, or sulfate of iron. I had no notion of metallic objects that might have been shaped or molded by means other than crystallization until I came to Arago's account of these occurrences, Hoover's, Volume 11, page 644. Here the analysis gives 70% red oxide of iron, and sulfur and loss by ignition 5%. It seems to me acceptable that iron with considerably less than 5% sulfur in it is not iron pyrites. Then little, rusty iron objects, shaped by some other means, have fallen, 4 months apart, at the same place. Monsieur Arago expresses astonishment at this phenomenon of recurrence so familiar to us. Altogether, I find opening before us vistas of heresies to which I, for one, must shut my eyes. I have always been in sympathy with the dogmatists and exclusionists. That is plain in our opening lines. That to seem to be is falsely and arbitrarily and dogmatically to exclude. It is only that exclusionists who are good in the 19th century are evil in the 20th century. Constantly we feel a merging away into infinitude, but that this book shall approximate to form, or that our data shall approximate to organization, or that we shall approximate to intelligibility, we have to call ourselves back constantly from wandering off into infinitude. The thing that we do, however, is to make our own outline, or the difference between what we include and what we exclude, vague. The crux here, and the limit beyond which we may not go very much, is acceptance that there is a region that we call the Super Sargasso Sea, not yet fully accepted, but a provisional position that has received a great deal of support. But is it a part of this earth, and does it revolve with and over this earth? Or does it flatly overlay this earth, not revolving with and over this earth? That this earth does not revolve, and is not round, or roundish, at all, but is continuous with the rest of its system, so that, if one could break away from the traditions of the geographers, one might walk, and come to Mars, and then find Mars continuous with Jupiter. I suppose someday such queries will sound absurd, the thing will be so obvious. Because it is very difficult for me to conceive of little metallic objects hanging precisely over a small town in Russia, for 4 months, if revolving, unattached, with a revolving earth. It may be that something aimed at that town, and then later took another shot. These are speculations that seem to me to be evil relatively to these early years in the 20th century. Just now, I accept that this earth is not round, of course. That is very old-fashioned, but roundish, or, at least, that it has what is called form of its own, and does revolve upon its axis, and in an orbit around the sun. I only accept these old traditional notions, and that above it are regions of suspension that revolve with it, from which objects fall, by disturbances of various kinds, and then, later, fall again, in the same place.